Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm testing this whole restream thing out right quick using my Twitch and my YouTube account. Oh, let me lower the volume down some. What's going on, Ashton? J-Dog, no, I didn't have to pay for this. This is free. It was going on Leftford and Anna A. Hold on right quick. Yeah, Ashton, yeah, this whole Morgan Freeman thing is kind of crazy. But that's why I'm doing this live stream right now because I wanted to know. Well, I asked people yesterday, did they want me to talk about it via live stream and make a pre-recorded video? And people said they wanted me to do it via live stream. So that's what I'm on here talking about right now. But I'm actually doing this thing called, if you look at the title, it says Multicasting from Restream. So basically, what I'm streaming right now is actually being live streamed not only just on YouTube, but it's also being live streamed to my Twitch account as well. So it's like I have two. It's like I have two different audiences. Some people are subscribed to me on both platforms, but they may be watching me on one. Exactly, Anna A. I said the same thing. We're going to get into all that because a lot. It's been a lot of stuff that's been floating through my mind as far as this whole thing has been going on ever since all of this stuff came out about him yesterday, and of course with Harvey Weinstein today. But make sure if you haven't done so already to hit the like button. Now I'm trying to leave a link into the chat, but for some reason, the chat is not allowing me to leave a link in it. For some reason, I don't know why. Now, J Dog, this live stream is going to be pretty much solely about Morgan Freeman. I'm just trying to stay on to that one topic, and when that topic is done being talked about, I'm gonna cut the live stream short because I just want to focus just on this one topic. Because I have a video coming about the NFL policy. Like that's probably gonna be the next video I upload after this live stream is done. Okay, I'm about to pull up the article and then I'm gonna read what it says. Hold on right quick. All right, bear with me, y'all. Like this new little setup that I got going on here is new to me. So this is my first time doing this kind of live stream format, where I'm live streaming in two different locations. All right, so I pulled up the article and it came from the New York Times and it was posted up yesterday. And it says Morgan Freeman is accused of sexual harassment by several women. It says Morgan Freeman, one of the most celebrated actors in the film industry, has been accused of sexual harassment by several women, according to a report by CNN on Thursday. The accusations range from unwanted touching to sexually suggestive comments on movie sets and office environments and during meetings with the news media. One production assistant told CNN that she had endured several months of harassment while working on the set of Going in Style, a film released last year starring Freeman, Alan Arkin, and Michael Caine. She said that on one occasion, Mr. Freeman kept trying to lift up my skirt, asking if I was wearing underwear, until Mr. Arkin told Mr. Freeman to stop. There were also suggestive comments and unwanted touching, such as putting his hand on her back. A woman described as a senior member of the production staff of Now You See Me, a 2013 movie, said Freeman would routinely comment on her physical appearance and that of her assistants. 3 reporters said that Mr. Freeman made inappropriate comments to them during publicity events to promote coming films. One reporter, Chloe Melas of CNN, said that during an interview last year, Going in Style, when she was 6 months pregnant, Mr. Freeman looked her up and down and told her, "You are ripe." A camera caught Mr. Freeman saying, "Boy, do I wish I was there." Directed toward Miss Milas, CNN aired the video with the remark on Thursday. Now, that's the line right there that I have constantly kept hearing as it pertains to Morgan Freeman. But they said that line that he said to her, the one where it says, "Boy, do I wish I was there," was actually meant towards his co-star Michael Caine. But they edited, of course, the media edited the video to spin it to make it seem like it was a derogatory thing towards this woman. And based on some of the words that's being said by Morgan Freeman, it sounds like he's flirting with the woman. That's what it sounds like to me. And it says something about, with him trying to lift up her skirt and everything like that. I don't know. It just seems all very suspicious to me. But let me continue. Right when I walked into the room, he began to make sexually suggestive comments to me. Ms. Miller's, one of the authors of the CNN report, said on air Thursday. As an entertainment reporter for over a decade, it was unlike anything I've ever experienced. Ms. Miller's then began looking for other women who had similar experiences. An article on CNN's website said that the network had spoken with 16 people, eight of whom accused Mr. Freeman of inappropriate behavior. In a statement after the article was published, Mr. Freeman, 80, said, "Anyone who knows me or has worked with me knows I am not someone who would intentionally offend or knowingly make me feel uneasy. I apologize to anyone who felt uncomfortable or disrespected. That was never my intent." Mr. Freeman is the latest high-profile entertainment figure to be accused of mistreating women since the Me Too movement began. Harvey Weinstein, the movie mogul whose fall from grace set in motion a cascade of revelations against other men, including Kevin Spacey, Louis C.K., and dozens more, is set to be arrested in Manhattan on Friday, which, by the way, he was arrested today, after an investigation into allegations that he sexually assaulted several women. Mr. Freeman has, at least until now, been one of the most revered actors of the modern film era. He won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor in 2005 for his role in $1 Million Baby and has been nominated for 4 other Academy Awards. He is often cast as a grandfatherly figure of wisdom and decency and has been referred to as having a voice of God, one of heard in numerous voiceover roles in commercials. Just this week, Vancouver Transit System said that it would use Mr. Freeman's voice in some announcements. On Thursday, the transit system said it would pause the project in light of some of the accusations. Some of the inappropriate behavior reported by CNN took place at Revelations Entertainment, the production company Mr. Freeman founded along with producer Lori McCreary 2 decades ago, and where staff members described the work environment as toxic for women. Don't you notice how when one says something, then all of a sudden, then the rest of them start to trickle down and say something? That ends up making me think that most of them are lying. Because a lot of them are seeking out some kind of monetary funds. Hey, what's going on, M. Mitch? And Deshauna, yeah, and I know exactly what you're talking about when you said all that cooning didn't help him. You're talking about when he said that if we didn't talk about racism, then it would just go away. I had talked about this on Bitter Truth Show's live stream earlier. I said that was probably one of the most whitest responses I think I have ever heard given. And then on top of that, he not only did he say that on a platform like CNN, but who he told it to? He told that to Don Lemon, of all people. I said, do you know how many white people look at Don Lemon? Okay, where did I pick off? Okay. It says, according to CNN, one manager said that Mr. Freeman would come over to my desk to say hi. He'd just stand there and stare at me. He would stare at my breast. Ms. McCreary would make snide remarks to women who could not stay late because they had to go home to their families, CNN reported, citing 2 former senior-level employees of the company. Ms. McCreary, who was co-president of the Producers Guild of America, did not respond to a request for comment. Most of the women spoke to CNN on condition of anonymity and said they had not complained about Mr. Freeman's behavior because they feared for their jobs. Ms. Maylers reported her own experience to CNN's Human Resources Department. In turn, brought the complaint to the attention of Warner Brothers, which produced and distributed the film, and like CNN, is a division of Time Warner Incorporated. According to CNN, Warner Brothers told Ms. Maylers that it could not corroborate her account because other than the comment caught on camera, it could not find Warner employees who had witnessed the other inappropriate remarks she said Mr. Freeman had made. Warner Brothers declined to comment on Thursday. Another journalist, Tyra Martin, an entertainment producer at Chicago's WGN-TV who interviewed Mr. Freeman many times over a decade, told CNN that he would often comment on her dress, but that she was in on the joke. There was, however, one incident that she felt crossed the line. When I stood up, I pulled my skirt part of my dress down, and he did say, "Oh, don't pull it down now," Miss Martin told CNN. It is unclear what the accusations will mean for his future film work. Oh, I already know. They're going to put it on pause. I can see that happening right now. Mr. Freeman has one major film on the horizon, Disney's Nutcracker in the Foreign Realms, a lavish fantasy co-starring Keira Knightley, Helen Mirren, and Mackenzie Foy, and set for release of November 2nd. Mr. Freeman plays Drosselmeyer, the slightly scary maker of clocks and toys, who, at least in the ballet version of the Nutcracker, magically makes everything happen. Disney did not respond to a request for comment. Mr. Freeman also has two other movies in advanced stages of productions, Angel Has Fallen and The Poison Rose. Both are independently financed and do not yet appear to have full distribution plans. Millennium Films, the company behind Angel Has Fallen, and March On Productions, which is producing The Poison Rose, did not respond. Angel Has Fallen is a sequel to the 2013 thriller Olympus Has Fallen, which cost roughly $70 million to make. Mr. Freeman reprises his role as the politician Alan Trumbull. The Poison Rose stars John Travolta as a former football player who becomes a troubled private investigator. Mr. Freeman plays a Texas crime boss. And I know why they were listing all that stuff down there and they had all those high-profile names attached to them. They probably looking at it like, Morgan, what in the hell have you done? You are about to be messing with my money. But yeah, it's like, it's a lot going on right now. It really is. It's a whole lot going on. He said, I wonder who they're going to go after next. That's a good question. It's a scary question, but it is a good question. I think all the black men in Hollywood right now need to be on edge because they are not going to stop. And you said, Professor Black Chief has to look at these accusers again. Oh yeah, that video he did about the Cosby accusers was like spot on. Now, here's what I had came up with when I was talking to Bitter True Show on his live stream earlier. Notice how when Morgan, we can use the most recent one, Morgan Freeman, all these accusations just popped up about Morgan Freeman, and then today they arrested Harvey Weinstein. When I had brought that up on his live stream, he didn't even know that he was arrested. It's almost like they kind of threw Harvey Weinstein's arrest right under the radar. Now, when I was doing that video, it said that he had a $2 million bond. I just found out maybe about an hour ago that he was released on a $1 million bond. That man was only locked up for a couple of hours, if that. But that doesn't surprise me either because I just know that Harvey Weinstein has a lot of money. Now, when it came to Bill Cosby, after he was convicted, they said that the Academy is removing some kind of ties to him away from the Academy. And then in that same breath, they said, oh, let's take away Roman Polanski's attachments to the Academy as well. And they did that under the radar, just like they did with Harvey Weinstein. So it's almost like we're gonna make it look like we're being fair and going after these guys, but we're really not. Because who has the more clout between the two sets of people? Of course, that would be Morgan Freeman in this case. In the previous case, it would be Bill Cosby. Because at the end of the day, they're gonna try to make them the faces of it. I'm seeing people say Lawrence Fishburne, Denzel Washington, Samuel L. Jackson. And you want to know what's so interesting too? All three of the guys that you mentioned, all three of them are married to black women. But at the end of the day, they don't care about that. But you want to know why I think Denzel probably won't be? Because Denzel lives a pretty low-key lifestyle. He doesn't go to Hollywood premieres and things of that nature unless it's for his film. He stays. He has a very low key life for a person that's very high profile. He's the Sam Jackson with curse these crackers out. Oh yeah, I could hear him right now. He would be saying MF all the way through. You know that's his favorite word. All I have to say is Morgan Freeman. He must have pissed off the wrong you know who. That's all I could always chop it back up to be. He must have pissed off the wrong you know who. And what's even more crazy is then like when you all it takes is them to put out something like this, and you can go right onto Twitter because Twitter is infamous for doing this. You can go right on to Twitter and see all the people just going in on them. They saying, "Well, I'm no longer a Morgan Freeman fan." Like, well, dang, just that quick, just that quick. Now you know Lisa Bloom ain't gonna come out and say I defend Morgan Freeman the way she came out and said I'm gonna defend Harvey Weinstein. I still ain't forget that. And every chance I get, I make sure to remind her on Twitter that you wanted to defend Harvey Weinstein. Oh yeah, Marcel, I kind of mentioned that in the article because it said he was supposed to be the voiceover for some kind of transit system, and they said they put it on pause right now. If they wanted to go, to be honest, J Dog, if they wanted to go after Spike Lee, they would have done it. They would have done it years ago because Spike Lee has been going at their necks for the last 2 decades. If they wanted to go after Spike Lee, they would have been gone after him. Unless they waiting for the perfect time to do that. I don't know if it's going to be through this film or not, but we'll see. Because he's put out a lot of in your face, eye opening films. Lefford Thomas is always white women doing this shit. It's very few black women accused. You know it's true, but you know they gotta slip some of them in the mix to make it not look like that it was all white women that did this. That happened with Cosby. It was mostly white women, but it was like 2 or 3 black women in there. One of them being Beverly Johnson. Exactly, Marcel. That's what I said. If they wanted to go after Spike, they would have been did it. All I know is this: they better not mess with Ryan Coogler because I need the sequel and the part 3 to Black Panther. That's all I know. So what about Wesley Snipes? I think. Oh, they already came after Wesley Snipes through the tax thing. They already came after Wesley with the tax things, and notice his career really hasn't been the same since then. Like, what's the last movie you saw Wesley Snipes in? I can't even remember. So they already got him with the tax thing, even though it's plenty of white people in Hollywood who have done the same exact thing over and over and over again. He said, didn't Spike Lee's career slow down after Old Boy failed? I mean, well, Spike Lee wasn't the type of director that would throw films out left and right and things of that nature, but he did enough to keep himself relevant and to the point where people still know who he is. Let's just say that he didn't stray too far away from the community that he knows made him, while still having a level of mainstream success. That guy, they gave Spike Lee an honorary Oscar, and I remember watching The Room. Them people was tense because they didn't know what he was going to say during his acceptance speech. Oh yeah, I remember what they did to Isaiah Washington. All he did was make one comment about homosexuals, and boom, his career was done. Just one comment, and the thing is, they took his one little comment and blew it all out of proportion. Now I have seen Isaiah Washington in a couple of things, but not how not like how it was when he was on Grey's Anatomy. One thing I wish Morgan Freeman did not do when it came to this is apologize. Because when you do that, it almost looks like you admitted guilt. And from the looks of it, it doesn't seem like they have much on you to go off of. You said Spike Lee should have won for Malcolm X. A lot of people thought that he should have won for Malcolm X. Same with Denzel Washington winning as well. But let's be real here. The Academy wasn't about to let him win for that movie. They just were not. That's like allowing what's his name, Nate Parker, to be nominated and win for Birth of a Nation. They wasn't about to let that happen. Ancient Melanin, you said Forrest Whitaker is the greatest actor in the universe. I wouldn't say he's the greatest actor, but he's a very very good actor. I wouldn't take that past him. Forrest Whitaker been in the game for quite some time now, and he doesn't get a lot of respect he deserves. And he said that Angela Bassett, and ironically, both of them were in Black Panther. Sonya Sees, he said but look at how many years it took. You said just 2 months ago, and this is actually my first time hearing about that. Look at how long it took for them to actually clear all of that up. The damage was done. The court of public opinion already destroyed him. What's going on, True Royal? See, what happens is, like, for Wesley Snipes, for example, they will take something like that tax evasion thing, something that white people have been doing for so long. And if a black person does it, they'll turn it on its head like 10 times over and really blow it out of proportion. But when they do it, we got to quickly clean this up and sweep it under the rug before they figure out what we're doing. But you know what? I already figured out what they're doing. But then again, who am I? Marcel said, I'll argue Samuel Jackson is probably the greatest black male actor. Yeah, he's definitely in the top 5. He's been acting a long time too. He's probably one of the most highest paid black actors. I remember it was some kind of thing had went out a couple years ago about him, and it said that his movies have grossed the most money out of any actor, no matter what the color or gender, in Hollywood. I think they said his films have grossed like $7 billion worldwide over the years, from the time he was in his very first film all the way to his most recent film. And I think something that helped that was definitely them Star Wars and Avengers movies. Most definitely those two definitely helped propel that. You said just like Consley, watch how they're going to take everything that made Morgan Freeman who he is. Yeah, that's what they're doing. This is the legacy. This is the sweeping and the cleaning up of the legacy. Well, I should say the tainting and the destruction of a legacy. He says Samuel L. Jackson is in almost every movie. Cap said Sam Jackson yelled himself into success. Well, that's pretty accurate because he's a loud actor when he needs to be. We actually talked about that on Black Ranger when he had made that comment on Don Lemon's show a couple. I think it was 2 years ago. I think it was when he made that comment. Any news on Chris Brown lately? Nothing as of yet, but I'm very sure if you type his name into Google, I'm sure some article will pop up. What movie was that, Sonia? It said he was in a kilt and he was a gangster. I don't think I've ever seen that one movie. The only movie I've seen Sam Jackson in that I did not like his character was definitely Django Unchained. I think everybody can agree with me on that one. We all hated his character and then couldn't wait for him to die. And I think it was perfect that Django, played by Jamie Foxx, was the one to kill him. He actually died a more worse death than Leonardo DiCaprio's character, in my opinion, and I'm glad for that because he played that coon role too well. Like he made you hate him. Like he would give Uncle Ruckus a run for his money, as far as a fictional coon character would be. Right, Marcel. He played the role good. Like I will give him that. But he made you hate him. Like when I was sitting in the theater and I was watching that movie, and his character had came up from the very first line that he gave, I was like, oh, I already know I'm gonna hate his character. And his character wasn't even throughout the whole movie. Like his character didn't come into maybe the last hour and a half. He didn't even have that much screen time, but for the time that he did have, he owned that character and he owned your attention. Like listen, you just hated him. You just did. And the part where Leonardo DiCaprio's character got killed, I think his character's name was Calvin Candyland. When he got killed and he was crying over his body, we was in the theater cracking up. But the best part was when Django had went down the stairs and started shooting him like in his leg and then in his arms. Then he shot him, I think, in his chest. And then he was still alive and then he burnt the house down with him in it. That was like, I was like, yes, he is gone. That was perfect. Me neither, Sonya. I couldn't watch that movie more than once, but for the one time that I did watch it, I remember those parts. Oh yeah, he definitely did take Coon to a whole new level. I will say that. That is your definition of a coon right there. And in my opinion, if black people were more on cold, that's how a coon would be dealt with. I'm just reading through the comments. You said, did I see the Michael Jackson special last night? I didn't know they had a special on Michael Jackson last night, honestly. And I'm surprised I didn't know about it because, if it was something about Michael Jackson, then they would have advertised it more. What was it about? Was it another smear campaign? Did they come up with another person to say that he did something to him? Because the man's been dead for what, 9 years, and they still trying to get people to say that he did something to him. You said, I said it before, I'll say it again. Coons need to be dealt with the Haitian way. That's the only way. Yes, J Dog, I did get your email on that. I didn't get a chance to read it though. It said, Terrain off topic, but have you seen that 30-year-old white guy who got evicted by his parents by force? Yes, I did see that. I'm trying to determine whether or not I'm going to speak on that or not. Creative Space, sadly, I think Denzel may be next. I hope not. I said if they come after Denzel, it's a wrap. Because black people love Denzel Washington. Try not to let it be a shock they're out there. Oh, you was responding to Anna A. Denzel Washington is untouchable. August said Coonan should be viewed as an act of treason. Oh, most definitely. Let's see. Sonya sees that dancer is still suing Michael Jackson. Oh, they were talking about that guy again, Wade Robeson. I thought we was done with him. I know who you talking about. Yeah. That man hasn't had anything successful or tangible to his name since the mid 2000s, back when he was in that movie You Got Served, when he had that little small part in there. He said his last years on Earth. They still making money off of his last days. I thought they were done with that after This Is It, but apparently not. Sonya Caesar says Don Cheadle. I don't know. Here's what I think. Because Don Cheadle, he's on this show. I think it's called House of Lies. I don't know if that show is still on. And of course, he plays War Machine in the Avengers movies. If they bring out anything about Don Cheadle, they're gonna wait until after his contract is up with War Machine. If they bring anything up with Samuel Jackson, they're gonna wait till his contract is up playing Nick Fury, because the mouse got them probably. They said, "Oh no, they're too profitable to this franchise. We need them here, and we don't need anything happening with that." So if you want to, they like probably like if you want to bring anything up on these guys, wait until after their contract is done and not before then. Ain't nobody thinking about Wayne, honestly. At least not like that. He said he's on Inside Edition talking about Michael molested him, or he need to sit down somewhere. Nobody thinking about Wade Robeson. He's just a broke dancer looking for a come up, and he's using Michael Jackson's name to do it, and nobody's falling for it. You said Chadwick, they better not mess with Chadwick Boseman. They gonna bring all of Wakanda up out of here. They gonna find out Wakanda is not just a fictional place in Africa. They said Michael Jackson about his early days until his end. I wish I could have seen that as being myself as a Michael Jackson fan. Tashana, they gonna lie about that man until they can't say anything else about him. They profit off of him being dead and being, well, of course, more so being dead. They say you're worth more dead than alive, and that is very true. You say you still like Larry Underwood. Now that's another actor who's very underrated, who doesn't get his props as far as acting goes, and he's been acting for a while. I remember seeing the first thing I think Blair Underwood did was an episode of A Different World back in the late 80s. He said, "What is up with these pathetic lowlives who are willing to lie and destroy families for some coins?" Welcome to America. Oh, this is America. This is America. Full of liars, low lives, thieves, murderers, rapists, degenerates. And that's probably most of the people that live up on the hill. I mean, work on the hill. He said those crackers made millions off of his corpse. Oh, yeah. Yeah, most definitely. Sonya sees Michael K. Williams. I don't know. They'd have to find a good one to get something out of Michael K. Williams because he's not what you consider a big A-list star. They're going after the head honchos, the ones that really what they call the movers and shakers. That's who they're going after. And nothing against Michael K. Williams. If y'all don't know who Michael K. Williams is, he played Omar in The Wire. And I forgot what the name of his character was on Boardwalk Empire. But he's not what I would say a big enough star for them to want to go after and do something. They're going after people that they know have influence or legendary status, especially when described as a legend by black people. What's going on, Spirit of Justice? You said, don't mess with my Courtney Vance. Oh, could you imagine what Angela Bassett would do if someone came after her husband? You think what she did in Waiting to Exhale was something? She might end up pulling the left eye and burning the whole daggone studio down. Chris Tucker. I can see them probably going after Chris Tucker, but see, then that's scary because guess what's going to end up happening? They go after, they already did it with Bill Cosby, so they wouldn't need to. So the black comedians need to be on high alert. Chris Tucker, Chris Rock, who else? Martin Lawrence, a whole bunch of them. They better be careful. We already talked about Sam Jackson and Mitch. Idris Elba, if they don't want a bunch of black women beating down their door with pitchforks like it's going to be a remake of the Charlottesville riots, I don't think they want to mess with Idris Elba. And that's all I'm going to say. Because I have a feeling black women will riot over that guy. And I know they will. Mike Coulter. Luke Cage? I don't know. Like I said, he's not a big enough star. for them to go after. Like I said, they're going after people who have clout, who have a lot of money. Not saying Mike Coulter doesn't have money, but it's not like he has Morgan Freeman or Bill Cosby money. He said Jamie Foxx is reckless. He may be next. Steve Harvey. Now, Steve Harvey, good example. I can see them going after Steve Harvey. I can definitely see them going after Steve Harvey. He said they're going to dig up Gary Coleman and say he spoke to a white woman in '83. You know, actually, ever since Gary Coleman died, and who was that? Lisa Bloom again, a lot of people say it was because of her that he died. But I haven't really heard them speak ill of Gary Coleman in death ever since he died. Sonya said, them white folks do not want Idris to get married. They were insulting his fiance at the royal wedding. Yeah, I saw those comments. They were insulting his fiance. And she's beautiful, by the way. She's actually the same age as me. Idris got him a young one. Idris' wife is like 29. And Idris is like pushing 40 if he's in 40 already. You said Will Smith. Now, that Will Smith's name came up quite a bit as far as who they could think of who could be next or definitely in the running for who they're going after. And I could possibly see it happening. However, I think Will Smith has a strong enough fan base that has spanned decades that will back him up and not believe any of the stuff they say about him to be true. You said Ving Rhames. Ving Rhames better hope they don't go after him because I think he's only surviving on the Mission Impossible checks. That's not me being funny, but that's just me being real. You said I can see the Me Too movie going after Steve. Yeah, I can see them going after Steve Harvey for sure. They said if they come for Idris, I can see me and my friends grabbing some spears and coming for these accusers like the door of Melody. See? I know it. I know that that black woman going to come if they go after Idris Elba. Because black women love Idris Elba. That's why I was glad that he ended up with a black woman as his fiance. Because like I said, I can only imagine how they're going to react if it turned out to be otherwise. Booker T, I almost asked you who was that. If you didn't put WWE, I probably would have been like, who was that? There's nothing wrong with Idris Elba's fiance. It's just that for some reason they always hate on it. I think it's just the jealousy thing, you know, because he got him a fiance and she's not. It's not like she's ugly and she's not. She's very pretty. She's gorgeous. And the thing is, if they're not talking about her physical appearance, they're always talking about how she looks, how she dresses, and everything like that. Like when those pictures came out of them when they were at the royal wedding, they were talking about how she was dressed. I'm like, I'm looked at some of them other pictures and some of them other women that was there looked kind of, if you want to talk about dressing goes, some of them look like, okay, compared to her. You said John Boyega. He's on the rise. I would say he's on the rise thanks to these Star Wars films. He's on the rise. I say give it a couple more years and we'll see. But he could be on the radar too. Snoop. I don't. With him, it's kind of hard. I don't think they have enough to go after Snoop with. Oh, you said his fiance is a Somali from Canada. Okay, I didn't know that. I thought she was from Britain, like he was. Unfortunately, Spirit of Justice, you're probably right. He said that a lot of black women would help attack Idris just like the rest. Unfortunately, yes, and I'm not saying that as a shade to black women, but we gotta just be honest here. What's going on, Becky? LeBron James. Oh, most definitely. I could see them going after Steph Curry too. Kendrick Lamar. Oh, yes, most definitely. After that most recent thing he did with that white woman on stage, when he told her that she couldn't say that N-word, I was reading some comments today, and them people were so upset that he had the nerve to do that. Creative Space said, I don't see that happening because a lot of black women love him. He was in response to Spirit of Justice about Idris Elba. Drake, possibly, if he tiptoes over the line. Draymond Green, maybe. Charlemagne, oh, most definitely. And you know, for some reason, I believe that if they came after Charlemagne, a lot of people would not even be upset. You said the members of Migos. I can see that. I can see that. Sonya C says black women are overjoyed that Idris is marrying a sister. I think a lot of women are, because they, when it came to Idris, they didn't know which way he was gonna go as far as a mate goes. So I think a lot of them were very happy that he ended up with a black woman. And is she pregnant? Because I kept hearing stuff saying that she was pregnant too, and I'm not sure if that was true or not. Paul Mooney. Oh, if they wanted to go after Paul Mooney, they would have been going off the Paul Mooney. I'm going to be completely honest about that. Paul Mooney been coming after these white folks for years in his stand-ups. They just going to let Paul Mooney just die. Just like they're just going to let Farrakhan, when it's his time, they're going to let him just go. Because they can't. It's some of them that are quite untouchable. Farrakhan probably being one of them. Paul Mooney probably being another. If they, like I said, if they wanted to go to after Paul Mooney, they would have went after Paul Mooney. And I think Paul Mooney is actually sick, by the way. Sonya C says Lonnie Love from the Real Coon telling black folks to wear sunscreen. And it's ironic. Lisa did a video today about some sunscreen pills, and I had left a comment. I said sunscreen pills. I never heard of no sunscreen pills before until today. And she made a good point. If the regular sunscreen that you put on your skin is not good for you, then why in the world would you ingest something that wouldn't be good for you either? So I would leave. I'm glad I am filled with melanin. I'm glad. I've never put sunscreen on my body. Now, I've never even squeezed it out of the bottle and rubbed it in my hands like it was lotion. I've never had to do any of that. I remember one time I was working on an industrial film for the military years ago. I think this was I was probably still in high school. It had to be. And we were outside on a track. And we had to shoot a scene where we were running and the sun was out. One of the producers of the film was passing out like sunscreen and stuff like that, and it was myself, 2 other black guys, and everybody else was white, and it was like about 7 of us. And when that bottle came around to us, we passed that thing to them. We was like, "Why are you not putting on any sunscreen?" I said, one of the black guys who was there just can't put it straight out. He said, "I got melanin, I don't need no sunscreen." He put it straight like that, and I think that was the day I really wanted to research what melanin was, because I was naive. You gotta think, I was in high school, I was in my teen years, so I didn't really know what it was. And I was like, oh, okay, this is what melanin is, and that's why he didn't want to put on the sunscreen. You said, imagine if Robin Harris was still, if Robin Harris was still alive, oh, most definitely. He was one of the most raw comedians I've ever seen in my life. I saw his Unsung, I think it was last year when they did an Unsung on him on TV One. That man had a bright future ahead of him. It's a shame he passed before he went. And you know, fun fact, when Bebe's Kids got made, it was supposed to actually star Robin Harris, and it was actually supposed to be a real movie with real characters, but because he died before the movie could get done or completed, they ended up making it an animated movie, and then they had Faison Love do the voice of his character under the same name, which was Robin Harris. Classic movie, by the way. If you are a black person and you've never seen Bebe's Kids, I'm gonna need to put a stamp on your black card titled "Get Out." Like Robin Harris was like, a perfect figure of his time. And then when he died, it was like, oh, when is the next Raw comedian come out? And in came Bernie Mac. And then he died, unfortunately. And that's another person they probably would have came. I think they probably would have came after too if he was still alive too, Bernie Mac, because he was another person that kept it real in his stand-ups. But he was another person that kept it real even off the stage too. Spirit of Justice said Nicki Minaj disrespected Malcolm X, and now she's bed winching with a culture vulture that disrespect black women in his music. Who was she? Who was she with? And yeah, that thing that she said about Malcolm X did run me the wrong way. It rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. You say your mom's nickname was Bebe, so you really are one of Bebe's kids. Yeah, but that is definitely a classic film, though, without a doubt. Charlie Murphy, yeah. That was such a shock. Well, it wasn't really so much of a shock when he passed because um we knew he was sick, but a lot of people didn't know he was sick. But when they started to look at him and how his face looked and stuff like that, they was like, something looks wrong with Charlie Murphy. And I remember the last roles I think he had was in Power. I did not like his character in Power at all. And it's such a shame that I couldn't wait for his character to get killed. Spoiler alert for those of you who haven't seen it. Even because knowing that, dang, they killed this man on the show and he's not even alive to see it. Is that someone made up a rumor that she was messing with Eminem? I gotta see that to know if that's entirely true, because if that was true, everybody would have been talking about that on social media. You said Red Fox stand-ups was the shit. Yeah. Oh, he went in when he was on Sanford and Son back then. That episode when they were in the courtroom was probably one of the most controversial talked about episodes, because I think that was like the first time that nigga was said on TV, on a nationally syndicated show, and something that was not said in a movie or one of those movie channels. I don't think they had movie channels back then, but I think that was the first time that was actually said and they didn't edit it out. It was a lot of shows back then that was ahead of its time. I remember in the Jeffersons when they had Sherman Hemsley say the things that he said. Like, that was back before PC culture or politically correct culture was a thing. Like, back then you can get away with saying a lot of stuff that you could not get away with saying today. So we talked about Harvey Weinstein briefly, and he was actually released on a $1 million bail. I saw that on one of these sites. That said he was released on a $1 million bill, but I'll look it up to make sure that I'm correct. Yep, it says Harvey Weinstein bailed out of jail after arrest on rape. So he wasn't even in jail for too long before he was released.